Nice if you turn your mic on first. Good morning. My name's Rick. I'm one of the pastors here. I want to welcome you guys. All you guys online, I'm glad you guys are here too. I had mentioned earlier in the opening announcements about checking in. All of you online, it's hard to tell who's online. You see one name, and I've heard from different families that, I got my whole family here watching. So if you wouldn't mind this week or maybe every week, just pop in and say who's there, and so we can kind of know who's watching online and what's going on. But we appreciate that. I'm glad you guys are joining us, and I am really glad you guys are all here too. So I wanted to ask you a question. Are any of you guys like me when it comes to social media? And just all of them. When I say social media, I don't even want to try to say them all, because I'll miss some and I'll sound like I'm too old. So we won't go there. But this social media, I have this kind of love-hate relationship with them. Do any of you guys like that? I love social media in the sense that I get to connect with people that I went to high school with from 100 years ago, and I get to see family and some of my, favorite nieces and nephews and everything that's going on in their lives. Some of you guys, I get to see your stuff, just so you know. Hey, your pastor's creeping on Facebook looking at what you guys are doing, just so you know. But I get to see some really cool stuff, your great vacations and your wonderful family photos and, every new baby, and these are my kids, and this is what I ate for lunch and stuff like that, right? It's great, and I love it. I love it, and it's wonderful. But the other side, the flip side of that coin, the things that I don't like, is that I get to see all your stuff and your great vacations and your kids' pictures and what you had for lunch and all that, because it looks like it's so perfect. And I'm like, man, my life is not that good. It really isn't. Some of the vacations you're taking, I really want to go on some of those vacations. I want to do that. But what I know about Facebook and Instagram and all of those things, there are these things called filters. Are you guys aware of this? The kids are probably like, well, heck yeah, I know these. My parents don't know this, but I do, right? There's filters, and there's a way to crop pictures, and I know, and if you're like me, I do it. I'll take a picture and think I'm going to post that. Oh, no, I don't like that one. Hold on, suck in on the next picture, take another picture, and I take a picture and a picture and another picture and another, until I get the perfect, right angle, right side. Which side's better, this side, this side? I need you guys' opinion. Throw that on Facebook. No, I'm kidding. But we crop it, and we make this filtered life out there online. And it's hard, right? It's hard to know what's true and what's real. One of the things I like on Zoom, did you guys know on Zoom there's a little box that you can check that will, automatically touch up your appearance? And it's kind of a sliding bar. The more you slide it, the better you look, supposedly. So a lot of slide for me, thank you very much. But anyway. We can, with this problem, when we see these perfect lives and these perfect pictures and this perfect stuff, as an individual, we can start to kind of envy those things, kind of want those things. We want to look at what they have and how they look and how their kids are doing and the schools that their kids are going to and all the things that's so perfect about their life. And it's hard, but we got to remember it's been edited and filtered. But I hate to break it to you, some of those people's lives, some of those pictures, they are that pretty. They are that good looking. They are that skinny. They do have that great job. They do make more money than you. They are smarter than you. They are faster than you. It's real life. It's true. It's unedited and unfiltered, and that's okay. But when we see that they are, that kind of makes us think, oh man, are we less? Are we lacking in some way? And that's when we start to run into this problem of we let envy become the boss of us. We let envy start to dictate who we are and how we feel and how we treat people. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today is episode 3 of the series called You're Not the Boss of Me. We have a subtitle that I love, the subtitle, How to Say No to the Emotions That Compete for Our Control. This is a how-to series. This is a practical and important series of practical ways that we can deal with the things going on in our lives, how we let envy and anger and all these things kind of take over us. Last week we talked about guilt. This week we're talking about envy. And yes, we'll get into anger and hate and all these things in the coming weeks. But as we do, I really have enjoyed preparing for this sermon. I've learned a lot about myself, and it's really convicting sometimes when you're working on a sermon, you're like, oh, I do that. Yeah, that's in me. Ouch. Here I am supposed to be setting this wonderful example, right? I've said it 1,000 times. I'm not this perfect angel you see on Sunday, right? I'm a human being. I'm just like you. I make mistakes. I do stupid things. But so that's why it's important, to dig in, look at take some notes and write down if you have a question or if a scripture kind of pops up, something you want to go back to later. If you have a question, you can email me or send me a letter. They still stamps and paper. You can actually do that. I'd be surprised. Actually, if you guys are not complaining, would you please send me a letter? It'd just be neat to get a letter that says whatever. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool. And it'll help the post office out too. Just a little PSA. But take notes and use your study guide. There is a study guide we prepare for every sermon. And what I like about the study guide is not especially me, that sounds terrible. Don't just take your pastor's word for it, right? That's what I love about St. Paul's. It's not about this is how it is and we tell you how it's supposed to be. Look into the Bible, read it, understand it, see what God is trying to let you know, to tell you, to guide you. It's important. And that's what I love, is that you guys, God may be talking to you and telling you. That's why I talk to a lot of different people in the church to, what's going on with the church and how are we doing things. Because God could be telling you something. Hey, you need to tell Rick to quit saying so much trash about his wife or whatever. You need to help me with that stuff. So it is important. Dig into God's word. So, envy. Oh, wow. Sorry about that. Envy is one of these things when it comes to our life and the emotions that we have there is no upside to it. There's no good side to it. There's no positive side. Envy is way different than like admiration. I can admire someone. I can see some things that I like about their life. I can see things that are good and maybe, what is that? Flattery, imitation is the best flattery or something like that. Maybe I want to imitate that. Maybe I want to be like you, and it can inspire me to be a better person. So sometimes admiration is there, but envy's not ever going to lead us to a place where we are doing better in our lives. Envy is not like admiration that can lead us to become better and inspire us to do new and greater things. That's how we look at our lives, and we'll talk about it in another sermon coming up about being able to project things into the future because of our hope and stuff like that. But envy never generates anything good. There's a Greek word out there, pathanos. Now, it's part of the word ophthalmology, which means eye, but it literally means evil eye. We see people with this evil eye. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, I don't like that. I don't understand why they are better than me. It makes me want to compare myself to them. It makes me feel so inferior because we're starting to compare. Envy attacks us where we're lacking. Anywhere in our lives that we feel insecure a lot of times, and we see someone who is really good at that or really good at this, it makes us feel less sometimes. And it's just kind of part of life. That's who we are in a way. But it makes us feel that we're lacking. So it starts with the eye. It attacks the heart and then the body, because when we start to feel that way and we're envying and it starts to attack us in that way, our stress levels go up and just our health deteriorates because we spend too much time thinking and pondering on these things that are unhealthy for us. Solomon wrote it this way: a heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots out the bones. In other words, another author, he wrote this about envy and a friend of his. This friend of his had a great life. He had a wonderful job. He has great kids. His kids are going to a good school. He had a beautiful wife, and she's so smart and educated. She had a great job. Life was perfect. Then his 20-year anniversary, 20-year reunion comes up. And he goes back to his school and starts visiting with some peers of his, some friends of his, and he notices that they have good jobs. They have pretty wives and great kids, and their kids go to great schools. But as he digs a little deeper, spending more time with him, he realizes that, his kid's school's a little better than my kid's school. Oh, man, his wife's a little smarter than my wife. His wife's a little prettier than my wife. Oh, I think he makes more money than I do. And then the reunion ends. He goes back home, and he starts to think, oh, man, my job sucks. I don't make enough money. My kids, they're never going to get anywhere. Look they go to Harvard and not Yale. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But nothing changed in his life other than his attitude. His life was great until he went to his reunion. So what does that say? Never go to a class reunion? No. But yeah, nothing changed except for his thoughts. He started to question his life. And I think when it comes to envy is not just an emotion that we have to deal with. I think envy is a disease that will rot away our bones. It's a disease with symptoms. Now, I want to tell you about a few symptoms. I know we got some doctors in the room, and I used to do a lot of stuff on studying signs and symptoms and things like that. But these symptoms, I want you to be able to maybe self-diagnose yourself and see if you have any of these symptoms. None of them are related to COVID. I'll just throw that out there. So, number one, I compare myself to others. Now, I don't really blame ourselves for that when we compare ourselves to others. Think about this. As soon as you're born, the doctors and the nurses use a thing called an APGAR scale that they start comparing you to averages. I mean, they literally give you a number on your heart rate and your muscle tone and heart rate and other variables. So you're actually compared against other babies right off the bat. You're going to hear this soon, right? So right off the bat. And then as we get older, and toddlers, what do? They give you they're in the 99th percentile or whatever that means, but how they rate against all other toddlers in the United States or in the world. So you're already being rated and compared to other people. Then you grow up and you get to go to school, and what do they do at school? They test you all the time. Here's a bunch of stuff. Read it, learn it, understand it, and then they test you on it. And then they give you grades. Oh, you got an A? Oh, I only got a B. You got a B? Oh, I only got a C, whatever. We're compared against our peers all throughout our lives. And then we graduate high school, we go to college, and it starts all over again because, man, your grades in high school affect where you place in college. Your grades in college affect what kind of job you get. What kind of job you get affects how much money you're going to make and how you're going to live your life. I mean, you're compared to other people all the time. I think about it, I joined the military after school, and my whole career, I mean, it was great. I learned a lot, but I was consistently compared to my peers and trying to outperform them so that I could get promoted before them. It was always this race of how can we reach the next level continuously, and we're always comparing, just almost like a reflex. So I get that we compare ourselves to each other, but it doesn't have to be that way. Most of the time, we compare ourselves to people kind of in our realm, same age, same gender, same kind of jobs and things like that. We're not sitting around comparing our money or our financial status to, I don't know, Warren Buffett or some of the mega millionaires. We don't compare to us. We're looking for people that we're close to, our peers. We're looking, like my sports skills, I don't compare them to Patrick Mahomes anymore. It used to be. I probably could have whooped him if I'd have been taller and whatever. But I don't compare my sports skills to Patrick Mahomes, right? I can compare my skills physically to people who lay around and watch TV a lot. So I don't compare how I clean my house to the lady on Netflix, that Marie Kondo, who does this bring you joy? If not, throw it away. I don't do that. Everything, all my cheese jerseys bring me joy. But we tend to compare ourselves to the people around us, don't we? And that's what's hard about this. It's our loved ones, our wives, our kids, our coworkers, our friends. So that's one of the symptoms. And it makes our lives a competition with everybody. So, do you compare yourselves to other people in an unhealthy way? Do you think, just by me pausing there for just a second, did someone's name pop in your head like, oh, there's Bob at work or whatever? Do you? Do you see these symptoms in your life, these symptoms of envy? They can be subtle. They can creep up on us. Here's another symptom. I want what's yours. It starts when we're kids, right? I want what's yours. Some of us are married, have kids, or have grandkids, or seen other kids, these little toddlers, and they're sitting there playing like little 1-year-olds. They're on the floor and they're playing, and one little boy or little baby has a toy, and the other little baby's like, I want that, and he snakes it really quick, grabs, and he's got this evil look on his face and saying, if I could talk, I could tell you I want this. It's mine, 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 right? And they fight over it, and they're 1 year old, and they can't even talk, and they have this envy thing, and then it grows, and our kids do it, teenagers do it, young adults do it, older adults do it. We get this envy of wanting what other people have. And it's hard. It's things like, it just kind of creeps into our lives. You ever jumped into a friend, like my brother-in-law got a brand new truck. And he comes over to show it to me, and I hop in, and we go for a ride, and everything on it's brand new, right? It's got the big fancy navigation. Ooh, it does this. Look at the backup camera. What happens to me the next evening? I'm on Carvana looking for a truck. I need a new truck. Not really. I mean, I kind of do. See that I mean? I want a truck, but I don't need a truck, but I have this envy of my brother-in-law's truck. I mean, it happens. I get this car buying fever, and my wife tries to talk me out of it. But it just happens. We go to a friend's house, or they come over and we start talking about our TV, and he's like, oh, I got a 75-inch TV, and it's super smart. It goes and gets me a beer when I need one. Whatever. You start to envy these things that they have, and it's like, wow. Then they talk about their vacations. Man, that vacation's amazing. I wish I could do that. I wish you could go there. Oh, man. We look at people who we think are smarter than us, who are more attractive than us, who are athletic or thinner than us, and we think, I want that. I want that. I want to become what they are. These are not horrible people. These are fine, loving, wonderful people, but these are horrible emotions that push us down and drag us to places we don't need to go. One of the things I think about is this. I know a lot of you are looking at your watches like, oh my gosh, he talks a lot, right? But I am not a natural speaker. I had to practice. I had to learn how to do this, and it doesn't come easy to me. When I first started, some of you know we had Pastor Ben was the pastor here before me, and I would watch him, and I'd watch his tapes, and I'd listen to him, and then I'd go and listen to Pastor Aaron, and I'd watch him, and I'd listen to how he does things, and we all write sermons together, so I see how they write and how they say things, and I tried to be them. I tried to talk like Ben. I tried to act like Aaron. Don't act like Ben. You can talk like Ben. Well, don't even talk like Ben. But, I wanted to preach like them, and I wanted to be them, and it was like, it didn't work real well for me because it's not me. I'm not Aaron. I'm not Ben. I have to be me. So sorry, you get me now, not Aaron or Ben, but that's how it is. We can envy somebody's status and achievements, and we think about somebody at work that gets promoted. We think about our friend that, oh, they got a raise or whatever. We think about these things, or they get an award, and you're like, man, I'm not even in that department. I'm not even in line for that award, but I would have probably done better had they gave it to me, right? It is. It's like you look at them, and you're like, oh, they didn't really deserve that, did they? We get this guilty or almost, I don't know, feeling of that they don't deserve it, and it's not fair. Why did they get recognition? Why did they get to have the bigger house, the better car, blah, 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 all those things? That should have been me. So, there's some stuff in our lives where these character traits that is a status symbol of other people, and we see it and we want it. We want that prestige. We want that status. So, think about these symptoms. Do you want what other people have? Do you envy their position in life? Do you have that symptom? I think I do sometimes. Here's another symptom, and this one's kind of ugly. I want you to envy me. Okay? I want you to look at my life and think how cool I am. That's why I spend 45 minutes posting on Facebook the best perfect picture and the cleanest, the only shots of my house when it's clean and only shots of my truck when I've washed it, things like that. I want you to look at my stuff and think, oh man, I wish I could be like him. You see, there literally is a positive jolt in our brain when someone compliments us or we feel like someone really likes what we're doing and stuff like that. When you guys are smiling, when you have your mask off, I feel good. When you laugh at my jokes, I feel good. You know what I mean? Those are things you need to start doing. But, so we get this positive energy, this feedback, and we want it. We want it so more. We brag about our stuffs in our lives, and we tell people that so that they can envy us and we can feel better. We brag about how our kids are doing in school and what school they got into and how advanced our grandkids are and how big our TVs are and how fast our cars are. Oh, speaking about cars, the main feature of our car may be reliability and safety and all these things. Is it really? Or is it that status you get from that car and the envy that comes from it? Just like my brother-in-law, I know he came over to rub it in my face. No, I'm kidding. He didn't. He was just being nice. Sometimes we humble brag too. And you guys know what humble bragging is? Anybody ever do that? Probably all do it every once in a while, but it's complaining in a way that's actually bragging. It's kind of like, man, I'm so swamped at work, and I got this new job, and it's so much stress, and I've lost so much weight, I can actually fit into these jeans from high school, right? We stress out, but that was a little plug for, I haven't lost any weight, I'm just kidding. But we do that. Or your buddy says, man, guys, I can't come out tonight, I can't come to happy hour after work, I got to go pick up my Mercedes from the shop. They had to fix the blinker light or something. Or I'm so stressed out, I got accepted to all these colleges, and I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to choose from these 12 colleges that accepted me? And there's your buddy sitting there going, I didn't even get accepted to any, right? So we humble brag, or we try to get people to love us or like us or envy us in a way that's not being very humble. The flip side of that is wanting you to envy me. So if I want you to envy me, I'm going to make sure I leave out all the bad stuff in my life. When you ask, and I'll ask you guys sometimes, when it's just out in the hall or walking around, or you do it to your friends, good morning, Bob, how you doing? Fine. No matter the fact that he just found out his wife's got cancer and his kids got divorced and all the stuff going on in his life, these horrible things, right? But I'm fine. Because I'm not going to tell you the bad stuff going on in my life. I don't want you to think less of me. I need you to envy me and think my life's perfect and these things are great. So when we fake it like that, when we are not being authentic with our friends and our families, we're just hurting them and ourselves. It creates barriers between us and the people who just might be able to help you in your situation if you're honest with them. Now, I'm not telling you, pastors and counselors think, yeah, you spill the beans. Don't go to the grocery clerk and spill the beans on you just had an affair and this is all going on and I don't know what I'm going to, you know what I mean? Talk to people that love you and care about you, your friends, your families, and your pastors and your counselors. So, this last week, did you brag or humble brag about something in your life? Any symptoms? Have any of you need to go see a doctor? Need to go get a shot for envy? Here's the last symptom, and this one's really ugly, I think, and it's, I secretly want you to fail. That's bad, isn't it? Isn't that horrible to think secretly now? I know you're oh man, I could have done that job. I should have got that promotion, but sometimes we're like, man, I wish he hadn't got that. Resentment gets lived out in our lives, and envy breeds this resentment. And it's lived out in our lives through bitterness and complaining and gossiping. Don't raise your hand, but anybody? Bitterness, complaining, gossiping? I don't know about gossiping. I try not to gossip it. I'll tell you if I'm going to gossip. And I'll say, this might be gossip, and then I'll go ahead and tell you. No, try not to. But angry and complaining and bitterness, I have that in my life. I like to tease my wife about, oh man, every time I do the dishes, you complain how I loaded it. Of course, I only did it like once every 3 or 4 months, but you know what I mean? What has she got to complain about? But those things creep up. Even and this is just me. I go to Joplin, and I envy some of the stuff that's happening at the Joplin campus and things that are happening here, and I got to watch that because I project this us and them and this bitterness, you know what I mean? We are one church, and we are going to do everything we can to build the kingdom. But it's hard for me it's a bigger campus. There's more people, and it's easy for me to slip into that envy. I envy what's going on over there. This is one of the things that really hit me hard today. Or not today, but as I was working on this. So these things sneak into our lives, and we say stuff like, man, he's a great athlete, but he can't shoot free throws. Man, she is really, really pretty, except for that big old nose. I was trying not to make contact with anybody out there. He'd be really fun to hang out with if he wasn't so obnoxious and annoying. So we kind of qualify things, and really, it's not nice, is it? We're not being good Christian men and women and the people that God has called us to do when we qualify things. There's researchers in Japan that looked at our brains, and I can just imagine all these little stickers that, how they do in the movies, and the wires hanging off. Have you ever had a sleep study, and they plug all this stuff on you and say, now have a good night's rest? I think of it that way, but they noticed that when we envy in our brains, when we see things people have that we want, it actually fires up the pain nodes in our brains. And the more we envy, the more painful it gets. But what they started to do was talk to these people when they were in these moments of envy and these pain nodes were lighting up. They said, now imagine they don't have it. Now imagine that they tripped and fell and broke whatever they had. Imagine these horrible things, and then their pain centers didn't light up. The pleasure centers in their brain lit up. Is that not creepy? Is that not like it make you feel a little bit guilty? Like, even in my own mind, I can't really control it. And the pleasure centers, right? How many of you watch those videos of fails when people crash and burn? People doing whatever, backflips on trampolines and landing in between this thing. It makes me laugh and smile. That's bad though, right? We shouldn't be being happy about somebody crashing and burning like that. Why? Why is that? It's just kind of hard and creepy, but so, do you have any of these symptoms? Do you secretly wish somebody would fail? I know nobody's... You're raising your hand? I was kidding. Don't raise your hand. No. It's something in us that we don't like, right? And I'm not saying we all do that. We don't all wish that thing. There are good people in this world that are good young Christian disciples, followers of Jesus, and we maybe maybe, though, we secretly celebrate a little bit. Now, maybe I wish somebody hadn't got promoted. Maybe I should have got that job. Maybe this should have been better, and I deal with this, and I've hated myself for it. So that's really healthy for me, isn't it? To live a life where I do something, and then I hate myself for it, and then I just deal with it. That can't be the way to live, is it? So those are the symptoms of envy, and here's some of the side effects. Because we always talk about we have these symptoms, but what are the side effects of these medications or things that we're doing? Envy damages your relationship to God. You ever thought about it that way? God knew you before you were even in the womb. God has this plan for your life. And when I envy other people's stuff, when I want what she has, when I want what he has, and I want these things, it's like I'm telling God, God, the life you gave me, the things you gave me don't have enough perks. I think I could run it a little bit better without you, God. I got this, God. You just handle the money and these things and to make sure I don't, jump off a cliff, God, and I'll handle everything else. We think we know things better. It's like we could, envy ultimately is a reflection or a rejection of God. We are rejecting God and the life and the plan that he has for us. This is why the ancients listed envy as one of the 7 deadly sins. Now, there's a little bonus for you online. And for all of you, if you will email me or shoot me a text sometime, what are the 7 deadly sins? Just a little homework for you. Just throw that out there. Envying can lead to all kinds of other things when it comes to envy. Envy, if I want something bad enough, I will lie, cheat, and steal for that. I may even go so far, if I want it bad enough, murder someone for it. All right, and I'm not saying you guys have done that, or maybe you've heard these murder stories and what had happened and why and this and that. We will do almost anything when we want something bad enough. That's on the bad side. But if I really, really want to be a great pastor and a great speaker, then I'm going to do everything I can in my power to study and to learn and to read and watch other great pastors and learn from them and become a better speaker and a better presenter. I'm going to do everything I can to do that if I really want it. But on the bad things that we will go so far down the hall, but we don't have to live that way. We don't have to. Here, and our scriptures put it this way. You have been called to live in freedom, my brothers and sisters, but don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. For the whole law can be summed up in this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. The whole law, all 10 commandments are talking about, but also the 300 and some odd laws that the Jewish people had made up to help us not break any of the 10 commandments. All of these laws, there's hundreds of them, were all summed up into this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. But if you are always biting and devouring one another, watch out. Beware of destroying one another. Did you catch that? Beware of destroying one another, because the implication here, this is a big deal. If you're a Jesus follower, if you're a follower, a disciple of Christ, what they're saying, are you ready? He's saying, don't compare yourselves to one another. Love one another. Love one another. And you can't do both at the same time very well. You can't be comparing someone and love them. It just says love one another. You are to love one another. Envy always gets in the way of love. So this is not a nice to do kind of thing. Don't just when you feel like it, when it's nice and you want to be kind to someone. This is not a nice to do thing. This is a mission critical thing. This is part of our lives. This is what it means to be a follower, a disciple of Jesus Christ. It means that this is mission critical, and we have to be vigilant. We have to listen to what's going on in our lives. And this isn't going to go away. Envy is not going to go away. It's something that's in us. It's part of our lives, and we have to deal with it. We have to understand it. We have to know how to deal with it. And I don't think envy is this problem that we're going to be able to solve. It's always going to be there. I think it's this tension that we're going to have to manage, because we're human and we're sinful, and we live in this fallen world, and it's just natural to compare ourselves and to allow our self-esteem to be affected by what we see if we let it. If we understand the enemy, know your enemy, right? Understand who it is and what it is and why it does what it does. You see, because our lives and the way our self-esteem works, and our life should not be built on what our neighbor's doing. The way we live our lives and the way we treat our family and friends should not be built and imitated of the other people in our world, in our lives. We need to be looking to the one and only place for who we are and what we are, and that is Jesus Christ. But even if envy never goes away, it does not have to control us. It doesn't have to drive us as long as we monitor our heart and we deal with it. So what do we do about it? What do we do about it? There are a few things to make sure that envy is not the boss of me. Envy, you're not the boss of me. First thing is this. Jesus said, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and these things will be added unto you. That's the most important thing that you can do in your life to avoid envy, is to seek God first, not stuff. In all our lives, in every morning, and I'm not perfect at this. I don't not even want to say that I'm really good at this, but I try to. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do, and I know it's just simple, but I say the Lord's Prayer in my head. I want to start my day by giving thanks and gratitude to God. And then hopefully everything else falls in place from there. Seek God first, not his stuff, not what his neighbor has, not anything else but God. Tell God, say this, and this is important, pay attention. It says, God, I want you first in my life. Help me to do that. I want to serve you first in my life, not my wants and my desires. God, I want you. That's what we want. That's what we should start. Matter of fact, I'm going to start doing that in the morning. This is going to be my mantra or whatever. First thing instead of the Lord's Prayer, maybe do them both. But God, I want you first. And I think God loves those prayers and works to bring you to a new place. If you come from a place in your heart that you truly do desire to have that relationship with Jesus, that you truly do desire to want to change, to be the light and the salt in this world. What does that mean? To bring the light and hope of God into this world, to be the flavor of this world so that people are not just drawn into the envy and the anger and the lust and all the hatred that's going on in our world today. If we choose to be the light in this world, think what God can do through each of you and me and all of us. There's a reason why we go on mission trips. There's a reason why we do things at our church like Hearts and Hammers, where we go out into the community and we help build decks and fix people's homes. There's a reason why we do the Farmers to Families, to help people make sure they have a full belly and they have food on their table at home. There's a reason why we do the Affordable Christmas. There's a reason why we volunteer and serve in all the different ministries of our church. We have several ministries: kids space, youth, hospitality. You do those things in the church to help support and love and be a part of the community of the church. But then you take what you're learning here and you go out into the community and you do the same thing. Right? In all your free time, right? Go out there and be the light of Christ in our community. And do you know whose lives are impacted the most when you do these things, this kind of kingdom work, where you're out there helping people? Those people get a new deck. Yeah, those new people get a new roof or whatever. But it is through actually working and serving with our peers and out there helping other people that the community has grown. The relationship with each other has grown. Our relationship with Christ is grown, and we are the ones who benefit from serving others. You see, we need to remember that envy starts with a vision, right? That ophthalmology thing we talked about, and how that it starts with us seeing something we want and we desire. And when we are doing kingdom work, we get new eyes. Here's another way to make sure envy is not the boss of you, and that is to cultivate contentment. Cultivate contentment. Be happy for what you have. Be happy for the things that God has blessed you with. Make sure that envy is not the boss of you. Let's put it this way. The Apostle Paul said this: I have learned how to be content with whatever I have. I know how to live on almost nothing or with everything. I have learned the secret of living in every situation, whether it is with a full stomach or an empty, with plenty or little, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. That's actually hanging on my wall in my office. One of you guys, Dorothy Dodd, actually gave that to me, and I love that. I can do all things through Christ who gives me the strength. That's even fight envy, fight anger, fight all these things in our lives, and we can learn to be content in Jesus. We don't have to worry about everything else that's going on in the world. Be content with what you have. Be content in the life that Christ has given you. Because listen, When we're content, we're free. We're not worried about the Joneses down the street. We're not worried about whoever next door or across the road. We're not worried about our neighbors, and we're not angry when they get promoted. We're not angry when they buy a new house or something cool happens. We are free to celebrate with them, to share the joy that Christ has shared with you, to celebrate with them and to be happy for them, to sit down and actually write them a note and say, you know what, that is awesome. That's amazing. I am so happy for you. Because that's what Jesus would do. And we are all called to be like Christ. When somebody in your world has something to celebrate, we honor them and we give them, the praise that they deserve. Be content with what you have so that you can celebrate the successes of your friends and your family and your neighbors. Here's a little homework for you. I want you, 2 homework assignments. I want you to sit down and write down everything you're grateful for. Not just the top 5 things. Thanks God for my wife, my kids, and my family, my house and things. Write down every single thing you're grateful for. Even if you're a fan of the Browns, who is going to be playing the Chiefs today, I'm so sorry for that. But be grateful that you have a team. Be grateful that you have everything in your life. Exhaustive, extensive. Put it this way. What if when you wake up tomorrow, you only had the things you remember to be grateful for today? What are the things you're grateful for in your life? Write out everything, because gratitude is huge when it comes to contentment. I think we said this a long time ago, is to have an attitude of gratitude in all things. I know it's hard. It really is. I mean, things happen in your life and you struggle and you want to get mad and you want to say something, but it's like, man, God, thank you for putting them into my lives. I know I'm mad at them in this moment, but they have been a great friend over the years. Right? Think of the things that are good and the things that you have, and you can work through almost anything when it comes to that. When we let envy be the boss of us, it turns all our contentment and all of that into resentment and rage and a competition with everybody. And the end result is it robs our happiness. It robs our lives. It robs the joy that Christ wants for us. Don't let envy rob you. Don't let envy be the boss of you, because you know why? None of the emotions that we talked about and the emotions that we're going to talk about in the next few weeks, but here, spoiler alert, we have a boss. We have a boss in Jesus. And it is through Jesus and His life that we can be content. It is through Jesus that we can have life and have it to the fullest. And for today, that is the good news. And may you all continue to lead people to an active faith in Jesus through your actions, through your words, through your deeds, through your posts, through your texts, through everything you do. Don't yell at the TV today when you're watching your football games. Be grateful that you have a TV. And that is the good news for today. Would you pray with me? Holy God, we want to come to you this morning and just give you all the praise and all the glory. I want to thank you, God, that we have this opportunity to be here. God, I want you first in my life. Help me to do that. I want to serve you first in my life. And I want you to remind me that it's not my wants, my desires, my things that I need, God. I want you. Father, we pray this all in your Son's most holy name. Amen. So Nate's going to play another song here just for a moment. I know I went along, sorry. But it's a moment for us for God's tithes and our offerings. And what that does is it opens our hearts, gives us a place to where we, again, are putting our trust and our faith in God, giving Him back His tithes and our offerings. As you think about that, as you pray about that and listen to this song, there's several ways to give. You can drop it in the basket on your way out. There's online. You can mail it in. There's just several ways. But if you're a guest here, please don't feel any obligation at all to do that. Just you being here is our gift enough for us. But thank you for being here today. And just remember, God loves you and we love you too. Have a great week.